Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new League of Legends video. So there's another topic I had on my mind that I sort of wanted to talk to you guys about again in the form of a discussion type of video. I really personally enjoy making these kind of videos and just talking about something interesting regarding League of Legends and also seeing what you guys have to say. So for this video, I want to talk about champions that are forgotten in League of Legends. Champions that you just almost never ever see anymore and just simply why that is. So I'll be going over 5 different champions that I see maybe one game in every 1,000 games or so, and I'll talk about why I feel like that is, and some of these champions do have a rework coming, but then I want you guys to let me know down below which one champion do you feel like is just forgotten completely, almost to the point where you forget the champion literally exists in League of Legends. So if you guys enjoy these discussion type videos still, then let me know by simply pressing that like button so I know to make maybe more of these in the future. But with all that being said and done, let's get right into the first champion that I want to talk about that is forgotten in League of Legends, and that champion is going to be Galio. I remember maybe about a season or two ago, Galio was actually decently popular. You know, he was considered to be a pretty damn strong pick, especially when a lot of the mid lane champions happen to be just flat out burst type mages. Because this guy is pretty much the anti-mage, right? He's kind of like the other form of Kassadin, where he just builds the hell out of MR. Obviously this works against AP champions quite well, but he also in turn gets damage from building MR, so it just really comes together and works quite well. But nowadays, I mean, when do you even see this champion anymore? Even mid lane or top lane, you really just simply do not see him. Now, even though I feel like he's just completely forgotten, I actually don't think he's all that weak. I remember I saw Galio not too long ago, and his abilities, his Q and his E, did an absurd amount of damage. I mean, I was honestly very surprised, and the Galio didn't even build just flat out AP damage. He built a bit of MR and, like, you know, Abyssal Scepter and things, but he also built just straight up defensive type items as well. And yeah, even though he still gets a bit of damage from building just straight MR, it wasn't anything completely out of the ordinary. But his damage was still exceptionally high to the point where it actually caught me off guard several times. But I feel like the main reason why you just simply do not see Galio anymore has to be his ultimate. I mean, his ultimate, it just feels kind of poor. I mean, it's kind of like an Amumu ultimate, just worse. And the reason for that is actually quite simple. Amumu's ultimate is instant damage, it hits them right away, and they're just gonna be stuck in that spot at that very moment. Galio's ultimate, even though, yeah, it'll still technically make them stuck at that spot at that very moment, it doesn't deal the damage as fast as Amumu's ultimate. It takes a bit of time. You have to wait for Galio to finish channeling it before the damage is actually applied, which is already kind of a bad thing because, well, what if you have QSS? There's just too many ways to stop his ultimate from actually dealing the full damage, and even when it does deal the full damage, it isn't anything too completely out of the ordinary because the damage from Galio's ultimate does ramp up for each basic attack he receives. But if you're using it on champions that don't auto attack all that quickly, or if you don't hit maybe at least 3 to 5 champions, not only are you not going to get that damage ramped up to the maximum, but chances are some of these champions again don't really auto attack all that fast, so in the whole duration of your ultimate, maybe they auto attack you twice. All in all, I just feel like his ultimate just has too many specific circumstances that need to be met in order to get the full effectiveness out of it, and it's just not worth having that on your team and having to kind of force yourself to look for those very specific scenarios. So in other words, in a very quick TLDR sort of thing for Galio, his kit just feels a little bit outdated currently for League of Legends, and I believe that's the main reason why you just simply do not see him all that frequently. But following Galio, we have another champion to talk about that also has a very outdated kit, and that champion is Warwick. Warwick has been around in League of Legends for as long as I can remember. He's one of the oldest champions in League of Legends in general, and his kit heavily reflects that. Nowadays, every new champion that comes out, whether it's Ivern or someone like Azir or Talia or even Kled or whatever, Camille, they all have these really cool personalities and these really just kind of unique kits in certain aspects, and they usually bring something completely new to League of Legends. But then you look at someone like Warwick and his kit just cannot be any more basic. I mean, if I had to guess, he probably has one of the most simplistic and straightforward kits in League of Legends as a whole. Because what do you do with Warwick? Well, your W and E ability are pretty much just non-existent because you pretty much never ever use them. Your passive is obviously a passive that just kind of does its thing for you passively, I guess. His Q ability you use every now and then, sure, but I mean, other than your ultimate, your Q is the only actual ability that you use. All you really do with Warwick is just right click on someone and auto attack them to death and pray that your E ability procs so you can continue chasing. There's extremely little mechanics involved when playing Warwick, so that makes his kit extremely dull, but it also makes him so linear to the point where, yeah, playing him is simple, but playing against him is not all that difficult as well, because all you need is just a way to stop his ultimate, and chances are he's pretty useless. A lot of the champions that tend to be very popular and successful are champions that have several ways to play them, several options to sort of outplay the champions that you're playing against, and just a lot of different things that you can do in different circumstances. Their ability to adapt to the meta and their ability to adapt to the team that you're facing and a certain situation that your team has been put inside is extremely important. Unfortunately for Warwick though, again, with his kit simply being outdated, that is just not something that he can really offer for his team. It's either he gets fed and he does his thing and he becomes this stupid kind of immobile object that you just can't stop from chasing you, that just auto attacks you to death, or on the other hand, he is the definition of just being absolutely useless. But luckily for Warwick and even Galio, they are going to be getting a rework or an update coming sometime in most likely 2017. So again, a very outdated kit for both of these champions, but the reworks are definitely on their way and I cannot wait to see what they do. But moving along to champion number 3, we have a Mordekaiser, somewhat of a different example because this guy has also been around for a very long time, but in not too very long ago, he did get a pretty massive rework to the point where I feel like he went from a pretty decent champion that you can definitely pull out here and there as kind of a pocket pick to kind of whatever the hell he is now. Riot tried to just completely change the dynamic of Mordekaiser. They actually legitimately try to put him as a bot lane type 80 carry almost type champion, you know, that goes bot, has a support, and tries to win the lane as being kind of whatever the hell he was supposed to be. And this is why they put that whole big emphasis around him being able to now essentially tame dragons, because again, the bot lane obviously is pretty much the closest lane to dragon, so whenever you get a kill bot lane, chances are you can transition to dragon, get that thing, and then go back bot and continue your snowball. And upon the release of Mordekaiser's rework, he was actually very strong, but the main reason for that was definitely his third Q. The amount of damage that thing did was just absolutely out of this world. So I mean, any champion that could have been put in that kind of situation with that kind of ability would have been pretty overpowered. But once Riot finally toned him down to what they considered to be a good spot to be in, Mordekaiser just completely fell out of flavor. No one ever plays this guy anymore. I almost never see him whatsoever, period, especially down in the bot lane. So it goes without saying that whoever was in charge of reworking Mordekaiser must have been smoking some of that real good shit that day, because I really don't know what they were thinking when they tried to do this whole kind of flipperoonie on Mordekaiser and his kit and just his overall dynamic. Now, is Mordekaiser getting another update, or are they kind of fixing what they kind of broke over here with the champion? I have no idea, but I don't think there has been any word on that whatsoever, so he's gonna be staying like this for a long time. But champion number 4 that is also extremely forgotten in League of Legends to the point where you just simply do not see them almost ever is Aatrox. It definitely feels like Aatrox's kit is kind of outdated as well. Now I have to say, of the 5 champions that I'm going to talk about, and there's obviously still one more after Aatrox, I feel like the theme around Aatrox is probably the best. He's this evil darkened guy, he's got these, badass wings, and he's got this cool looking sword, and he just looks and sounds epic, and the theme behind him is just really cool. And I feel like, I remember Riot talking about this, they don't want to change his theme at all. They want him to remain what he is in terms of looks, in terms of lore, and all that good stuff. But I do believe there is going to be some kind of changes or rework happening to Aatrox eventually, where they want to make his kit feel a little bit more flexible and not so kind of one-dimensional. When you really think about it, he's just a slightly more complicated version of Warwick. That's not to say his kit is as simple. I mean, he definitely has a little more extra things that he can do, but it's not that much more, and it doesn't really bring anything completely cool or interesting or unique to League of Legends. He's just a champion that feels really difficult to make work, especially currently in the meta. I mean, there's a lot of champions that can either kite or have mobility here and there, so Aatrox being a champion that is sort of focused on just auto-attacking someone straight directly and hoping that you can kill them before they can run away, it almost makes you wonder, well, why would you want to play that and not play someone like Tryndamere, who can just stack up crit damage, probably have a better chase potential, has a better ultimate, and has a better passive, has a better heal, and just overall has better damage. So unfortunately, Aatrox is definitely a forgotten champion. I'm kind of sad about this because, again, I actually do generally think Aatrox is a really cool champion, and I want to see him kind of be made into someone that is actually viable, someone that I can actually play, whether it's top lane, mid lane, or jungle. He's a cool champion. Hopefully Riot decides to rework him and put him in a good spot where he can actually be played, but other than that, unfortunate for Aatrox, but you are definitely a forgotten champion. And last but definitely not least, we also have Urgot. Oh, Urgot. I mean, I don't even know what to say about this guy because he has been in just the most awkward situation for so long. I mean, almost for as long as I can remember. Now, I actually do remember also a long time ago, kind of around the time he got released, he was considered to be pretty damn overpowered. He had an insane amount of damage, landing that E ability and just constantly Q-sniping people. It was really hard to deal with, and even though Urgot, I feel like of the 5 champions I'm talking about in this video, has to be probably the most played of the 5, that's still not really saying a whole lot. This guy is just, it's really difficult to kind of understand what kind of team comp he fits into, and just what does he really offer for the team. I mean, do you play him as an ADC? Well, he's not really an ADC. He doesn't have that consistent damage coming out. He's more of kind of a harasser, kind of someone that pokes people. Okay, do you put him in the mid lane? Well, I mean, he can probably work in the mid lane, but he has no escapes, and he's kind of an initiator at the same time with his ultimate, to the point where he's kind of in the middle of the team, but he's also not really. Then he's not suddenly a ranged kind of poke champion, so that's not really a mid lane anymore unless you play an assassin, but he's also not an assassin because he doesn't have burst. What the hell does he do? He has no wave clear either. I mean, what does he offer? I mean, okay, fine, you can think top lane. He has that poke from top lane. He also has the initiation that top laners like to have as well. And I mean, when you really think about it, it kind of makes sense, you know? I mean, that's kind of where he belongs. But when you think about all the other top lane champions that are in the meta, I mean, most of them offer some kind of good wave clear, some kind of good one-on-one dueling potential, or even some kind of AoE sort of initiation potential, you know? I mean, they offer a lot more than what Urgot's kit can offer his team. And I feel like that's a very common problem among all of the 5 champions I talk about. They all have these sort of weird kits that don't really feel like they offer anything specific, nor do they feel like they excel at anything either. And I feel like that's the biggest issue with these champions. They're just more or less outdated. They need a better kind of name to themselves. They need a better identity in League of Legends. So that's kind of the issue, I believe, with Urgot and all these champions combined as well. They need an identity. They need a better kit, the one that brings kind of more, I guess, uniqueness, if that's even a word, to League of Legends, and a better reason as to, you know what, I want to pick this champion because this champion offers this, this, and this. But other than that, guys, there you have it. Kind of a discussion video of me just talking about champions that I feel like are simply forgotten in League of Legends, ones that you just do not see very frequently whatsoever, and also as to why that is. Let me know down below what champion you believe is the most forgotten in League of Legends and why. But thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, then definitely hit that like button to let me know. Subscribe if you haven't. Share this with your friends, but I hope to see you for my next video. Peace.